people that had children abroad, the parents, the Zoom thing to the parents, and she used to be like, that our own children are said because, Moneymatics, I will tell her, thought I have. She's like, why are my own children if they're sending me this small money? Two, one of the people that she used to think, that was the percent, was saying that, every time I come home, I used to borrow money to come back home to Nigeria, to come and do this thing that I do. That's why she realized that, okay, if they send me 50,000, I shall be enjoying it with Thanksgiving. So, hello, and welcome back to the Moneymatics Podcast. My name is Onthe, and as you can see, we are having an in-person recording. There's been many firsts this year on this podcast, and today's another first. We're having an in-person recording. We're live in the studio. Let me start talking like we're being because I'm going there. I have with me, guest, and I'm going to allow us to introduce ourselves. So, welcome, Valerie.
So, yes, I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to being on your show, being podcast. So my name is Valerie. We are my consultant and an investment advisor.
Yeah, Valerie, nice to have you on the Moneymatics Podcast. Yeah, so you mentioned you're an investment advisor and that's what you do. And what's your Instagram
Thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah, consultant about to be signing. Why investment consulting? Why risk management? What's the drive? Why did you pick that?
So for risk management, honestly, I'll say it was a thing of faith getting into risk management. If I start my journey from my educational background, my bachelor's is in geological science. Yeah.
Geological science and this one will help me because
But it's just a bit fake. I finished my bachelor's and then I'm working as a junior geologist. And then the friend tells me, that she's in Lagos and she's here to complete like a finance of an interview with a financial consulting firm. And growing up, when you say financial firm, all I knew, this is me personal, all I knew were the banks. Okay. And I never liked the bank. Growing up, there was a very negative reflection of females in the bank. So I never liked the bank. So when she told me, like, no, it's not a bank. I'm like, if it's not a bank, and I say it's financial, like, what is it? Okay. It says a consultant from the multinational. And that was the first time. And then I'm like, I'm going through the page. She tells me the name of the consultant firm. I'm going through the page. I'm like, okay. If it's not the bank, I like what I see. I'm going to apply. And honestly, at the time I applied, I didn't have like a complete idea what base management was. I just look at it as multinational and, it's a better experience. I'm working in going to level up and all. And that's how I got into it. And I'll say from that moment, learning on the job, and then subsequently, I've now had to get actual educational certification. Like I have my MBA, I have other professional certifications in risk management that's helped me learn and also become a better professional.
Interesting. I thought myself as an electrical engineer, in finance, it was interesting. But here's why you studied geology. Talking finances. So, before that moment, what was your relationship with money generally as a person? Were you like the financially savvy person when you are handling money, or was that the beginning for you?
Okay, so I'll say my relationship with money growing up was that for you to be able to get anything, you have to save.
Okay.
You have to save properly. So I'll say I grew up with my parents being in the back then middle class because I think that's middle class every day right now.
I read an article that said that right now in Nigeria, the middle class has jumped to 12% of the population.
Honest,
and that is ridiculous. She had it sick on many levels.
it's really super sad. So growing up in the middle class, it's more like I didn't grow up having access to luxury. So for every nice thing, so you're planning that my parents are going to buy us Christmas clothes towards the end of the year, all the Christmas things. For the beginning of the year, you're from January, you're already saving towards it. My mom is telling you, you want maybe an extra toy, just it's all your pocket money. So it was just the consciousness of to get anything major, you just have to save it. So I grew up with the fact that you have to save if you want anything for yourself. So that was like my relationship with money.
So your mom is your first financial, what do you call it? So she was not a social about money. Kind of saving or
Helped me to, like, again, I say it's my mom, but I wouldn't just say like her. It's just, it was the circumstance of things.
okay.
Yeah. So I'll say it was more circumstantial that, if you just do it. So whether you're told or not, you don't get anything at the end of the year. You don't see other your friends wearing, maybe they have a nice matching dress and they have a little handbag. Because she did not say, he got a,
I like her. I mean, that's something that I say about a podcast, and I say even something on Instagram that Christmas that I imagine so you need to start saving for Christmas from the beginning of the year. And I still do that even today. I start saving for Christmas from January. I have a Christmas fund. But yeah, so you had this growing up in your adulthood and your relationship with money change.
yes. So, and this is not, I wouldn't say it was something that happened like maybe long ago also maybe in the last maybe 5 to 6 years, my relationship with money has changed. So I have gone from seeing things like investing in experiences as luxury, as seeing them as part of the things I need to invest in to live a better life. Like, for instance, growing up, if you told me we're going to save or spend a huge part of your salary for the year to go on vacation, it sounded really strange. Yes, you could go to a restaurant, have a nice time, but really you want to spend all these millions of naira. No, that was it. But now I see them as those are things I need to invest in more to be more whole myself, like to be happier, feel healthier as well. Get going to having a vacation, having time to rest, experiences that give me a better quality of life. So for me, that's how my relationship with money has changed.
So your relationship has gone from just the essential saving for the bare minimum to I can actually, even if I spend my money, it's still an investment in myself, in my health, and
Exactly. Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting because vacations, especially, are things that people consider. So actually, it's luxury, but then again, it depends on what kind of vacation. Because it's not always that you have to travel abroad to rest or to have a vacation. You can have a vacation, you can have a staycation.
Hot vacation of other home.
So when you get to the person that's like, yeah, thank you, Valerie. My vacation when I went for this, even though I borrowed from it, it's an investment in myself. What do you say to that person? Because I people that I got like, oh please, this is my peace of mind. I need that they don't have any money in their account, but they feel like, oh, what they say right now is a license to invest.
Okay, so please. Honestly, and this is how it puts it. In the journey to investing and investing in experiences, I would say at the starting point is building a disciplined savings culture. That is the starting point.
You say it again.
Yeah, leaving the back, you have to start with building a disciplined savings culture. That is the beginning. So you can't. It is not wise to borrow money that can't even afford to pay for experiences like going on a vacation. So you have to start somewhere. So you have to start from the point where you're saving towards it. So if you know you want to go on a vacation August, September, by January you should have done all the preparations, like look the financial cost, what would cost you, and see how this fits into your income, whatever you're earning, or however you get And maybe at some point during the conversation, we'll talk about how to plan better, like rule of thumb. Like for me, I always tell my clients and other friends when I'm having investment conversation, rule of thumb is go the 50-30 rate.
It's the easiest.
It's the easiest, the easiest. So whatever you're earning, no matter what you're planning towards, if you use this rule of thumb, it guides you to know, okay, this is how much I'm going to save towards, invest towards it to get me to where I'm going.
So for those who don't know the 50-30 rule, it's the rule where 50% of your income is to handle your needs, essentials, your accommodation, your food, your transportation. 30% is for your want, and the 20% for your savings. This savings and investing. So if you've built up your emergency fund, of course you should be investing that money. If you've not built an emergency fund, you should be in putting money aside for emergency fund and then putting money aside for savings. So that's the 50-30 rule. We were talking about building a disciplined savings culture. I always tell people on the show that it's important to have a budget, but I know some people have a problem with just the idea of budgeting. Like, oh, it's such a headache. Oh, it makes me feel restricted. What do you say to somebody who wants to build a disciplined savings culture? What would be your own 2-3 tips for doing that?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, when people say budgeting, it depends on how you're looking at it. So if you look at it from a very technical point, it can get exhausting, whereby if someone is telling you, bring up an Excel and kind.
I'm an Excel girl. I'm an Excel girl. I love my Excel, and I tell my people that it doesn't have to get so complicated, but the Excel works.
And so for some people, just the whole idea of I have to open up an Excel can be exhausting. So this is what I'll say. The one tip, if you just starting the journey and budgeting as an idea seems like a lot to you, again, once you get that income, take out all the what is necessary, right? It's more like, yes, you're implementing the 50-30-20 rule, right? Then once you're done with that, tell yourself that, okay, I have a savings account at this point, because now we're starting from the savings journey, right? So what is not necessary, put it aside. At the beginning, this is not going to be very structured. So maybe this month you're probably putting away 10% of your money. People put it in mathematical terms, maybe less, not 15%. But track it over a period of, for starters, track it over a period of 3 months, where you're honest with yourself. We all know what frivolities are every month. You don't have to buy the handbag.
Oh, you get so proud with that method of frivolities for different sets of payment.
I think we must be really honest with ourselves. Either you know what the excesses are. Okay, I have 5 handbags. Do I need to buy 2 on this month? Do I need to, make that the highest 10? So those things that are not need monthly. So that little money, begin to put them out. After 3 months, look at that account, that savings account where you're putting. Now, if you don't trust yourself, I feel like 90 days is a good time, 3 months is a good time to tell if you can find yourself accountable. If you don't trust your own level of accountability, the next step is to get someone whom you trust financially, trust their financial level, their financial literacy level, and they get them to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
So now this person ensures that whatever amounts you both have agreed at that you pay no matter what. So that's the second thing. Then my third tip would be, now you're getting 6 months in. Honestly, you get the structure. What's the structure? So you're either going to subscribe to maybe online tools or apps, or you want to start with the regular Excel, because at the beginning, yes, you can freelance, but this is a journey. So 6 months in, you know how it works. You've learned the intricacies. Now you begin to start documenting. Because one thing with documentation is that it helps you encourage yourself. But when you look back, you see how far you have come, right? So that you don't feel discouraged or feel like I'm just stressing myself. Right. So for me, start wherever you are right now. So I did on the technical jargons part, just count. 3 months in, track, either get a mentor, a multiple partner if you don't trust yourself. But if you trust yourself, then you have a good record, right? You review and you're doing good. And then 6 months in, have a proper structure, either documenting using an Excel, or you have an app. I feel like there are some apps now. So yeah, whatever tool you see fit at that time, they just implement it. Helps their budgeting journey.
That's very good. So I totally agree, because I feel like even though you can freelance, like you said at the beginning, there comes a time where you have to really sit with yourself and look at the numbers. Sometimes I feel like there's a whole lot more you can do where you can see the numbers, where you can plan. I honestly, with this budgeting thing, there is a primary school level of it, there is the secondary school level, and then there is the tertiary institution level of it. So you just have to pick your level and then go with it. But what I found with budgeting is the more you do it, for example, itself, and now it's so standardized that I don't even have to look at it so often. Because it's like we're on autopilot, like I tell people, you're autopilot. The money that is being saved is being saved. The money that is going to invested is going to invested, and then the rest is let's see. Yeah. So I kind of like know how my Excel looks. It's almost the same thing every month, you know. And I think most people will get to that stage if they start and they keep going. So let's talk about investment and what do you think? What do you think is the biggest roadblock in people's minds when it comes to investing?
Okay, so the biggest roadblock I think in people's mind in investing is the fact that I'll say people are selecting the market.
Okay.
People are always very concerned, as is for beginners, like new investors. They're always concerned. Will I this money? And I think, will my money? No. Then before something happens in the market and the money goes, person on the app like, oh, they're kidding. You got 20K, things like that. So that's right, the first part. So I call it emotional investing. So as a new investor, it is like the biggest roadblock. You have to first build your emotional mindset towards investing. So while you're getting all the technical knowledge, you're also building yourself emotionally. Yes, to understand that you cannot let your emotions, dilly-dally, with the market. So that's like the biggest part. So to handle that, if I'm dealing with a new investor, a client as a new investor, I just tell them, okay, what's your biggest priority? And almost every time they tell you capital preservation. Yeah. Like, what can I invest in that? My capital, nothing.
Okay. Low risk, low gain.
So that's just the beginning. That's the biggest. So from there, it kind of leads me about having to sit with the client and do a risk assessment.
Yeah, what's your risk profile? Yeah.
So I have a assessment on a scorecard. So we answer some questions and then help the client see that, okay, based on your answers, it was your risk level, and let them know what that entails. So if at the end of the assessment, it states that you have a low risk appetite. So it means we're going to be investing in this kind of instrument. But the people are low risk, but they're looking for the highest return.
I think everybody wants the low risk, like, oh, you want the money to like double it once a lot, but they want like the money to multiply. Like I tell people, investment is a long time thing. You don't have to be in for the long term to avoid getting into trouble, to avoid like selling off your stocks and your shares prematurely before it's time and all of that. So, not interesting that you say that the biggest roadblock to investments is risk appetite and how people think that, oh, I'm going to lose money out. If you're investing in the stock market, you have to be ready that at some point, the money will go up and down, but like sit still in the boat, let it rock and let it rock, but we're going to get where you're going if you give it time. And time, I don't mean 3 months, I don't mean 1 year, in 5, 10 years. You've been doing stocks and funds and things like that. Definitely. So, what I want to do today is we've talked about you, we've talked about some other things, but on the last episode of the podcast, I talked about that. And, it's one thing to sit in front of the camera and tell people, do this, do that. Sometimes I like to also think of the human side of things, the nuances that we have. It's very easy to say, don't, set money home if you don't have it and all of that. But, life is not black and white. A lot of times there are gray areas and nuances. People's personal lives are different situations. What's your personal philosophy when it comes to black tax or when it comes to sending money home and helping, especially for Africans living in Africa, living in Europe or living in the US?
Okay, so for me, the first part I'm going to address this from is the part that I'm a Christian. And for me, the driving point is the Bible says I should honor my parents. And in honoring my parents, it's seeing that I'm able to meet their lady and, in to the extent that I can, right? So for me, that's the first skill I have in mind. Now, when it comes to having to do this, to what extent do you have to then meet needs, honor parents? Honestly, that's the whole level of conversation.
Level. Yeah. Because we have the parents, then you have the extended, you have friends, you have, I mean, the list is long.
So you have to think with yourself to see to what extent can I help each person every month. What's the primary need? Because somebody could call me right now and be, Val, can you send me so amount of money? There are some persons that I sometimes go ahead to ask, oh, what's this for? And there are some persons I don't. Out of the level of the
I'm too curious not to ask. I guess, but he asked me for money. I want to know the details. Let me see. Is there something that asked me to say, but I will ask? What do you mean?
thought to deal with some people. But even now, at this point, those people, most times, not always don't have a need to ask you.
Yeah. Also, those kind of people are people that you will not need to ask for them to tell you what they want to do with the money.
Exactly. So when there's an emergency, then those are like times where you say, okay, yeah, based on you have to maybe go over and beyond to beat that. But generally, I always say this: when you have to, in this space of blackness, your immediate family, for me, is like the priority. I'm married, so assess my immediate nuclear family. So I'm looking like parents and my immediate siblings. They're like, what's point?
Yeah.
So when there's that's first thing. So before I start thinking, oh,
And second cousins, third.
to commit to sending something to them because I know at this point like what I send to them is relevant. It does meet certain needs that at some point. So towards the end of the year, this is like a personal thing I do. Towards the end of the year, then I reach out to extended relatives. So I have uncle actually
So
to that.
that is coming from you as a person. All of us who talk about money, we know what we spend our money on. We don't like I think my family knows. My mom knows I don't like things that that's not been planned because the Excel has already been done at the end of the month. We don't make room for things in the middle of the month, anything like that. So that is coming from you. You know your plan. But what you say to the person who gets called random and because it's one thing for you to plan for, I'm going to send money to my parents, I'm going to send money to my in-laws, and then I'm going to send money, maybe my siblings need something. But those ones that you cannot plan for, those ones that come to you, like, because I know that talking to Africans in diaspora, they get calls. Some of us are lucky not to get too many calls, but I don't get a lot of calls like that. But you do get calls sometimes, and a lot of people that are listening, those calls, they don't know what to do. Like, somebody is like, Emma, I need now. Say to that person, what's the healthiest approach, both for the emotions and for the pocket?
Oh, okay. So the first thing I'll say is it's easy to say, oh, say hard. Honestly, that's not the easiest thing. So first is
Like, oh, don't call me next month. Yeah, money.
If it's coming from again like from your immediate, you have to say that hard no. But you have to take a conscious effort to observe, is this a pattern? Is this a so if you see that every month, even after sending what you have committed to, there's always an emergency. You know what to do? Now factor that emergency into it. So this is a simple practice. I don't know, I like to do like the practice. I want to it. So for if you have made a budget to give, say you want to give 50,000 naira. So if you want to give 50,000 naira home, and then you realize maybe for the past 3 months, every month by the end of the month, someone is already calling you for an extra 30,000 naira. Now, going forward, I'm just going to factor that into what I am committing. I'm taking cognizance of what the market is saying, what the living circumstance is. So I'm going to say, okay, This month, you know what? I'm going to send maybe 35,000 naira. It's just so things are somehow like
They're really 15, but so you put the 15,000.
but this is a process. So this is like my own personal notes, right? So at the beginning of the month, you just wait at the end of the month. At the beginning of the month, the way you're having those calls, you're like, things are somehow they're helping right now. I'm still going to send you something, but pardon me if I'm not able to do the regular.
You start laying the ground.
That's the one. One petition is lower.
Start setting the expectation.
Instead of the 50,000 naira you're going to send, you usually send. So you know what? Let me give you this 5,000 naira right now. You know, before the month ends, let's see what happens. Truth is, you realize that even with that S5, everybody manages somehow. It's fresh at least 2 weeks in. So now you're getting to that when what to set. So when that comes, now you cannot set instead of the path of 15, you cannot make it 3. So you feel like you're doing just a little extra 5,000 naira compared to 50 and then that's 20. So that's the way you're able to patrol.
So you do that, but I feel like that is all a little bit of you are still having to be the one to manage things, which is good. Is there something you can do to that pattern from the other end? Is there anything else that you can do? If there's someone that is, if you get what I mean, like now you are having to help manage other people's finances. You're putting the money for them because they're going to call you on the 18th. Is there something you can do to correct that pattern from the source?
In all honesty, they say never say never. But when it comes to, especially when you're dealing with African parents, your immediate siblings, it is hard. It's hard to go through the phase where you have these conversations over and over time, and if care is not taken, it kind of leads to certain strain.
So being in the relationship.
Yeah, it's brain in the relationship. And there's just a way that some African parents, not all, some African parents see your response of trying to help either manage or help them work through a financial pattern that you think is not healthy enough for you and for things as if you're saying, oh, you're stressing me. So for me, I would say, depending on who maybe the other party is, so if it's your parents, your siblings, but depending on the kind of relationship you have can have with them, if you can have a healthy conversation with them where it doesn't lead to a strain in the relationship and it then becomes a cost of money. If you can have that conversation, doesn't get to that point, then have the conversation. It's the best. If you cannot have the conversation, under the managing, you put the managing held there for you emotionally. There's, they say you can't change family.
I was going to say, if it takes of behind such an old dog, new tricks, if it's an older person they're trying to teach, go and spend all your money on trees like this. Like, okay, you know what? We're not teach a new face. I would manage from this side.
Yeah. Who the other parties, if it's like parent, when
I still feel like in a way we have the responsibility, and then those of us living out of the country, to educate and to, I don't want to use the word train, people maybe family back home, because a lot of times the desire or the expectation is because they also see other people. Like I had a conversation with my mom. I don't think she would mind me saying this. She was saying that before, she used to see people send money home, the people that had children abroad, the parents, the doing thing for their parents, and she used to be like, after her own children are said, because Moneymatics, I will tell her, this is all I have. She's like, why is it that my own children will be sending me this small money? Two, one of the people that she used to think as the percent was saying that every time I come home, I used to borrow money to come back home to Nigeria, to come and do this thing that I do. That's why she realized that, okay, if they send me 50,000, I shall be enjoying it with Thanksgiving. Sometimes I feel like we have a responsibility to show the right side of this living in diaspora to our family and place demands on people because they think that the money is there. Because they think that, there's money. You're in the US. What's the problem? Spend dollars. You're in the UK. You spend pounds with ridiculous things. I've seen ridiculous on the line where somebody said someone 20,000, but it's just 20 pounds or something. That all of my have to want to get a 20 pounds. Maybe that's all they know. So that's why I feel like it's a responsibility that we have to have these conversations, even though it might look like, I don't want to be doing this financial education, but sometimes it's important to be transparent and to be honest. I think a lot of Africans even in diaspora sometimes are not honest about their own situations. They try to keep up with a facade that has been painted by other people. Right? And that's why I feel like the conversation that you wanted to have, like, you know what, I know you think I'm swimming in one route, but I'm not. But when I start swimming, you will get to the bar now, but still widely.
Yeah. Respect to the kind of family, right? That's the point where you break that managing expectation, right? But if I'm living in that world, then I'm letting you know how things are going, right? I begin to manage your expectation.
That's true.
Yeah. So for me, it's that perspective, like it is my responsibility to manage the expectation. If I come and tell you or tell my siblings that, oh, wait, I have 1 million more luxurious life,
Yeah, you're going to play. If they only see your vacations,
like it's a never right fun thing to place a demand on. Oh, if you can afford this, we're not even asking you to go a vacation. We're just asking maybe instead of sending 20,000 naira, and let us make it 50,000 naira. But when you're able to manage the expectation, that's the thing. So we have to respond to making sure that people giving facade and living so flamboyant. If you do, honestly, I feel like natural public is a different London lifestyle.
well, that's true. Especially Africans, that's true. I mean, we've all fallen into that. And like, you see the guy driving a car or the family in a nice big house and they're driving a nice big car, maybe two, three in their company. And you feel that they're rich on you see their bank account and realize that it's all debt or something. With Black Tap, we've talked about managing expectations, to planning for real and all of that. Can you be that person who just says, you know what? I don't have it in my plans. It's not in myself. There's no room for this because I'm trying to achieve a goal. I'm trying to get out of debt, whatever. Is there any way where you tell somebody say no, they had no to black tax?
If for me, I'll say a point where I'll say hard no is if it's not an emergency. If it's not an emergency, be polite and say, you know what, I would have loved to help right now, but I can't. Let's see what happens next.
How do you define an emergency? My phone broke yesterday, and I'm your younger sister in Lagos.
Food and shelter. They have it in the economy. They say the basic human needs. It doesn't deal with the basic human needs. You need to get a medication or someone very and to get or have to be pregnant. And in Nigeria we pay annual, and so we're not doing the monthly things. That's something that can be planned for. Certainly that would be an emergency. So most time has to do with somebody's health, right?
Because even food can be a scam. Yeah, maybe the ones it's out here. So today there is no money for guy.
No, that kind of emergency. Read to politely tell the person no, and wait and no. Let's see what happens next month. You realize that need it appears to not stand at the end of so that that's not an emergency. So copy those are situations where I say it had no. Like right now, no, I don't think.
I recently went to Nigeria, and before that, I stick very much to my financial plan. I don't really allow people to, I don't think the situation for me is doing anything. But going home, I realized that people are struggling. I mean, in the nation, think of Nigeria. And I think you can say this to a lot of African countries, people are struggling. And so the need sometimes is really, like, even though you want to say, this is not my problem, you realize that there are limits. What's the best way for Africans living in diaspora to address this? Because the needs are there, but the country is upside down. A lot of are struggling. We were just talking about the erosion of the middle class. What did you do when they have this? You have this, and you're trying. Because this is the thing, you are trying to get out of this middle class. You're trying to do something better than your parents or whatever, and then it feels like you are being dragged by, I don't know how many people follow. That's the experience. They're like you're trying to save yourself, and there are many. But what's the best way to approach this? In your own opinion?
In my opinion, first I'll say give you a journey for myself, and then some case that easier said than done. So the first place is to come from a place of empathy. Everybody responds to empathy, but so no matter how it feels, you're being dragged. It has to first show empathy that you recognize that there is a need. This person is sincerely not able to, like, if they had other needs, they won't be paying him for this money. So that's the first place, having to show that empathy. And second, uh, place or second thing would be to, you mentioned having to sit down and have a conversation. Sitting down to have a conversation is to truly explain how peace works, because it would baffle you that some persons in Nigeria, even in 2025, don't know that in diaspora, yeah, parents are paying one. Some people don't know that. That's true. People don't know that there's something called tax that is taken even before you say Jack Robinson. See the money. People don't know anything like that. So it is on us to really sit down and explain. I remember the first time when I was trying to explain to my mom that for me to pay my rent, that as soon as my salary could like have a date, like, it's an auto debit. So like I don't have it. So you can just say, excuse me, Mr. Landlord. I was trying to explain that, so like, I need something now. I'm like, I'm going to get money next, like like next week or so, and I need to pay rent. Like, tell your learning that person should bear with you. Like, this money enters my account. It's auto debit. Like, it goes before I even. My landlord has no business with me. They don't come to knock on your door to collect. So when I explained that, it gave a whole new perspective. So there's now a new realization to say, okay, you can't just ask for money like, shift this to shift this. There's a structure. So that explaining, and it's from a place of empathy. So, but honestly, for me as a person, before I had to learn that, okay, I have to explain certain things from a place of empathy. It's been a journey where I had gone through from being frustrated, angry, again, to keep learning and older, you realize that these needs are really there. So first, show empathy and then explain the way things are. You don't have no point. So should I tell people how much I'm earning? I'm earning £2,000. And I say, no, you don't have to do that. Just let the person know that based on what I earn, honestly, this is what I can afford to spare. If there's an emergency, you need to. So if I can give me time, please believe and give me time. So for me, that's an easier way to manage that.
So yeah, it's about having those honest conversations. Because I think for a very long time, people living in diaspora didn't have conversations that were honest. A lot of people were. I even have my own therapist. The people who lived here, they're struggling, they're doing 3-4 jobs. So when they go back home, let's say on holiday, that's the time for them to live the rich man life. And so that's what they presented back home. And so it's become the image that people have. I don't know if you have any other thing that you want to share with our viewers that we haven't touched on.
Okay, so if there's anything I want to share is first that investments, the journey to building an investment is very easy. You don't have to feel like it's a whole lot of technicalities. Start from where you are. No matter the amounts you have, honestly. And if you don't know where to start, feel free to reach out to experts. So you have my dear Mobilize here. You can reach out to her to say, this is what I earn. Just give me, guideline on where to start, right? On my Instagram page, you can always reach out. I have tools and things out there that would guide you on how to start. Again, it is investment made simple. That's why we have podcasts like this. We have shows like this. So investment is easy, no matter where you start.
You can start with as little as 10 pounds or 100 crowns in some places, and you do it. The thing is to be consistent. Consistency anytime over even intensity. 3 pays a lot. Thank you, Valerie, for coming on the show. It's been nice. Let me know in the comment section if you enjoy this in-person recording. Give us tips on what we can do better next time, and I've been looking forward to reading your comments. And until I come your way again, this is the Moneymatics Podcast. See you later.
Thank you so much for having me.